We'll have more on President Biden's address in Poland in a few minutes, but we start with more immediate concerns in Ukraine. New explosions were reported Saturday near the western city of Lviv, where many refugees have found safety. The mayor of Lviv reported multiple missile strikes caused what he called significant damage to facilities in the city, but not to residential homes. He also said at least 5 people were injured. Officials told the residents of Lviv to stay indoors as thick plumes of smoke rose above the city. The missile strike hit a fuel depot roughly 2 miles from the city center. Until this attack, Lviv had mostly escaped bombardment and fighting since Russia launched its invasion over a month ago. Joining us now for more on this from Lviv is CBS News foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab. Imtiaz, it appears the Russian offensive has moved into Lviv. What are you seeing there?
Ali, very good to talk to you. Well, I'm not sure if you can see over my shoulder, but you might be able to see this sort of amber hue in the distance. And that is the fuel depot that was targeted in those Russian strikes. And that is the fuel that is still burning. And really what that's done is just sent a chill down the spine of the residents of this city who, as you rightly point out, have largely been spared the kind of violence, the horrors that we've seen elsewhere across this country. Now, we do need to be clear that 5 people were injured in this strike, and we don't know if there's been any major damage to any sort of infrastructure beyond that fuel depot. But again, it's of course very, very worrying for the people who live here. Many people who have fled from other parts of Ukraine because of the bombardment, because of the violence they've seen. In fact, this is really a conduit for the millions of Ukrainians who've now fled, many of whom have gone to Poland, where the president is now. And I do want to point out it's not lost on anybody here that these airstrikes took place just before President Biden gave that speech in just over the border. And of course, many people here thinking that it was a sign from Russian President Vladimir Putin that his war is only going to continue. Ali.
Wow. Now, a Russian official claims the first phase of the country's military operation is mostly complete, and the Kremlin says it is moving into a, quote, new phase of the war. What do you make of that?
It's pretty baffling, to hear that when we now have strikes here in the west of the country. The Donbass region is this separatist region which has been fought over now since 2014. And the idea that Moscow would be turning its attention to that region while at the same time striking areas here in the west, well, it certainly calls that into question. But if that is indeed a strategy and that is a true shift in Russia's strategy here in the country, it would be a very significant change to what this invasion was when it started 1 month ago, which is, it was very clear that Vladimir Putin thought that his forces would, in a lightning quick assault, take the capital Kyiv and seize this country. And what has he had instead? He's seen this stiff, incredible, extraordinary, and astonishing resistance from the Ukrainian military, who have put up a resistance that, frankly, I don't think anybody in the world who watches this issue here in the Ukraine very closely and pays attention to the Ukrainian military thought that they could do. And yet here we are. And we've seen, time and time again, Russian forces face setback after setback after setback. In saying that, Russia, of course, being able to inflict horrific damage in many parts of Ukraine, causing untold damage in not only major cities, but in villages as well, claiming many, many lives. But again, if this is Russia pulling back, at this stage, it doesn't look like it. Ali.
And so why do officials believe Lviv was targeted today if Russia's reportedly shifting to targeting eastern Ukraine in the next phase of war?
Well, look, it's very clear that what Russia is doing, at least here in the west of the country, is targeting with a certain level of strategy, not the kind of war of attrition that we've seen in places like Mariupol and Kharkiv, where really it's just to kind of grind these cities, as the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described, as into ash. What we have seen, and we have seen other strikes in and around Lviv over the past few weeks. Military barracks just 2 weeks ago was targeted, in which there were a number of casualties. And again, that was in military barracks. We understood weapons were there. We understood that soldiers were there. And that, again, was what's being described as a strategic target. And, again, just about 10 days or so, we had an area near the airport of Lviv that was targeted, where we understand that aircraft of some sort was being repaired, and now this fuel depot. So what that tells us is that there's sort of a pattern emerging here, where that when it comes to the west of the country, Russia is not targeting it indiscriminately, but it is targeting it with a certain level of precision that sadly far too much of Ukraine is not seeing. Ali.
And you, Imtiaz, have been reporting extensively on what Ukrainian children are coping with in this war. What more have you seen?
50% of children in this country have now been displaced by the violence. 50%. That means 1 in every 2 child no longer sleeps in their own bed at night, no longer can play with the toys that they once had, no longer sees their friends, no longer goes to the schools. They are now displaced. They are either in sheltering in places elsewhere in the country, or they're now refugees living abroad. 50% of the children in this country, 1 month into this war, have been affected like that. And the concern is, and the fear is, and when we heard from President Biden just now in Poland, that this is not going to be a short conflict, that this is likely going to be a long war. And if we're already seeing 50% of children displaced by this violence, one can only imagine the horrors that were expected if this war does last, as long as people are fearing. Ali.
Absolutely heartbreaking images there. Imtiaz Tyab, thank you.